Maria Bartiromo exposed the truth about the DSA.
Just when you thought the far left could not get any more radical, Democrat Socialists of America are now preparing to unveil their new platform in the week ahead.
And that platform was topped by calls to dismantle the Senate, a position the DSA's national co-chair doubled down on a recent interview.
So would you like to abolish the Senate?
That's part of our platform, and we don't think that's extreme.
And today, we're telling you all about it. So let's get right into it.
Well, it's incredible because just when you thought the far left could not get any more radical, sources telling Fox that the Democrat Socialists of America are now preparing to unveil their new platform in the week ahead. Next week, we're going to learn that apparently it includes eliminating the U.S. Senate, replacing the presidency and the Supreme Court with bodies that would be subordinate to Congress, granting amnesty to all immigrants, and defunding the Department of War. I mean, what could possibly go wrong with this list, Congressman?
Again, not serious. They're living in we're the United States of America, not the United States of utopia. And it's very telling that the Democrats, the only federal programs or agencies that they'll ever cut are for defense. Everything else, according to them, needs to grow. And I think that's absurd. And again, we just need to give the American people a reality check and understand that and really lay out to them that we are the adults in the room, not the other party.
Well, the DSA's platform is finally out after they reportedly spent 2 months putting it together. And one of the first major headings reads, "Speaking of bills, you don't really have them anymore." If you scroll past the mental gymnastics they use to make their agenda sound appealing, you'll get to the section where they outline what they fight for. It includes things like healthcare for all, feminism for all, ending mass incarceration and police immunity, and the Green New Deal. For some reason, they included abolishing ICE under their foreign policy section instead of a domestic one, along with ending the U.S. war machine. But the most dangerous ideas come at the end, where they call for, and listen to me closely, extending full voting rights to all permanent U.S. residents, abolishing the Electoral College, replacing the president and Supreme Court with an executive and judiciary chosen by and subordinate to Congress, and then last but not least, expanding the House of Representatives, implementing proportional representation, and abolishing the Senate. Abolishing the Senate. So they're essentially proposing to remake the entire system while slapping around the word democracy or working people in front of every section to make it sound more appealing. Honestly, I'm shocked reading this. The party's national co-chair was confronted about abolishing the Senate proposal, and his explanation just proves that he has minimal understanding of how things actually work.
The Senate is a very undemocratic institution. I talked a bit about democracy, small d democracy, and that's really important to us. We want democratic representation of all people who live in this country. So the Senate represents, it's 2 senators per state, and it's very undemocratic at a basic level because a state with a small population has the same representation as a state that has 500,000 people. It gets the same representation as a state that has 40 million people, like California does, or New York State, or Texas, or Florida, which are the most populated states in the country, but they have the same representation as a much smaller population. So we do believe that government should be proportional to the population, and we just don't see the point of the Senate. Historically, it was meant to serve very wealthy people who owned a lot of land, and that's still a system that we have today, and it's something we would change. We would expand what the House of Representatives does and make it more actually representative. It's a change that would help make this country more democratic.
Here's a quick lesson for you, buddy. This is for Ashik and the members of that party. The Founding Fathers warned extensively about the tyranny of the majority for a reason. They never wanted a system in which one large voting bloc could simply overwhelm everyone else and strip away their rights. That's exactly why they created a system of checks and balances, including the Senate and the Electoral College. The idea was to stop the most populated states from permanently dominating the smaller ones, which is essentially what Ashik was arguing for. In simpler terms, we're not the United States of California and New York, and they can't simply bully the rest of the country into higher taxes because they have larger populations. But the best reality check came from an immigrant lady who called into C-SPAN, pointing to the real dangers of socialism. I love this lady, by the way. And Ashik sat there completely speechless. But before we play that, here's a quick word from today's sponsor. In our last video, we covered Vault Strategic Mining, trading as KNXFF in the US and KNOX in Canada, and how the company was building what could become one of America's most strategic tungsten portfolios. Since then, the story has accelerated. Vault has now expanded its footprint by acquiring 4 historic tungsten assets, anchored by its flagship War Bond project in Nevada. The timing could hardly be better. The US remains heavily dependent on foreign tungsten, with roughly 90% of global supply controlled by our adversaries. This goes well beyond mining. Tungsten is essential for modern defense, from aircraft carriers and armored vehicles to precision-guided munitions. That is why Washington has made securing domestic critical minerals a national priority. With billions in government support flowing into domestic supply chains, Vault is positioning itself right where that demand meets policy. If you want to learn more about them, check out the link in the description. A special thanks to Vault Strategic Mining for making today's video possible.
Yes, Denise, what's your question or comment?
Well, my comment is there's nothing. You know, I came from a country, so I know about that. So in the U.S., we're not going to be fooled by people like you. We are not. There's a reason why everybody's trying to get here. This is the only place in the world where if you work hard, you can make it. And that's what I did, coming here with nothing and made it. So that idea of democratic socialism, it's trying to put lipstick on pigs. We're not going to take it. We know what you're coming from.
Denise,
we're not going to take it in the U.S.
Can I ask what country you came from?
What?
What country did you come from?
I come from Haiti.
And what's your view of that term, socialism?
Socialism is the worst thing that can exist in the world, and they know it. It leads to misery and death. That's what it is. And learning will fool people, and we're not going to be fooled in the U.S. There's a reason why we want to come here. It's because you can make it. That's the only place in the world where you can make it.
Got your point.
This is priceless. The reality is that many immigrants from South and Central America came here to escape instability, and in many cases to get away from socialist or communist regimes. There are entire books and studies on this phenomenon. So when they start seeing the same types of ideologies gaining traction here, it's only natural that they call in and be concerned. On top of that, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that promising free everything isn't a sustainable economic model. Couple that with the DSA's broader radical agenda, and you have a recipe for disaster. Maria expanded on this exact point in a conversation with Pat, asking, what is the best course of action that you could take to keep that scenario from becoming a reality?
Well, is there anything you can do to get ahead of this? I mean, they want to eliminate the Senate. They want to replace the presidency with a body. I mean, you know, what can you do as an elected official to stop such an agenda?
You get a big giant spotlight, Maria, and you shine it on their agenda, on their, when they reveal that, you make sure that the American people understand this is what they're talking about. This is what they want to do. And not only all that, you know, if they ever took power and could, they would pack the Supreme Court, and we would end up with hundreds of justices because it would be a back and forth yin and yang type of thing. So this is a radical agenda. This is 2 different paths to 2 very different goals.
Well, I mean, look, how ironic that they want to upend all of the things that brought us this incredible success over the last 250 years as we celebrate 250 years for America, and they want to do away with capitalism and replace it with socialism.
I understand where Pat is coming from, but Republicans also need to run on policy. Let's not forget that. Just remember how Democrats spent years campaigning on the message of Orange Bad Man. Not only did that help elect Trump, but it also created space for groups like the DSA to gain momentum. More importantly, we should have faith in the American people. This isn't the first time socialist or even communist ideals have gain traction within our politics. The best response is to clearly explain the differences while addressing the conditions that allow those ideas to spread in the first place. And that starts with fixing the economy. Because if people have opportunity and financial stability, much of the DSA's platform loses its appeal. I know I was fired up for this video, so let me know in the comments your thoughts on this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, you heard it here at the Dais.